The storm hit just after dusk, painting the horizon in sickly orange streaks as lightning licked the distant pines. Elliot Cross tightened his grip on the steering wheel, eyes narrowing at the road ahead. His windshield wipers were useless against the torrential downpour. Each swipe only smudged the murky glass further. He was somewhere near Greystone, according to the broken GPS on his dash. Not that it mattered. There hadn't been a proper signal for miles. The last road sign he passed had been bent backward by wind, its name scratched out like someone didn't want you to know where you were headed. His work van coughed as he shifted gears. He should have turned back hours ago, but he couldn't afford to. An off-grid job meant double pay, and after 2 months of patchy freelance work, double pay sounded like salvation. He followed the winding forest road another mile until the van jolted hard, a pothole, deep as a crater. The engine wheezed, then sputtered, and died. Elliot sat in stunned silence, hands frozen on the wheel. No lights, no rumble, nothing but the hissing rain and the soft thud of his own pulse in his ears. Great, he muttered. Real great. He grabbed a flashlight from the glove compartment and stepped out into the storm. The town appeared like a bruise on the edge of the forest, half hidden under fog, barely lit, eerily still. Greystone. There was no welcome sign, no gas station, not even a street lamp. Just 2 long rows of narrow houses hunched under sagging roofs. Some had flickering porch lights. Most were dark. Elliot trudged through the mist, backpack slung over one shoulder, flashlight guiding his steps. After a few minutes, he spotted a narrow house with a lit window and a hand-painted sign on the porch that read, "Rooms." He knocked twice, then 3 times. The door creaked open without a word. An old woman stood there, thin and gray-eyed, wrapped in a wool shawl despite the warm summer air. "Come in," she said simply. "You're late." Her name was Mrs. Hargrove, and she walked like the floorboards were listening. "Storm knocked everything out," she said as she poured him weak tea. "Happens often this time of year. We don't get many visitors." "Yeah, I noticed," Elliot said, glancing around the small parlor. Everything was faded, the wallpaper, the rug, the paintings on the walls, like the color had been drained from the whole house. She handed him a key. "Room at the top of the stairs. First on the right. Bathrooms at the end of the hall. Don't go out after dark." Elliot frowned. "Why?" Mrs. Hargrove didn't answer. She just gave him a tight-lipped smile and turned back to her tea. That night, Elliot lay in bed listening. The wind had stopped. So had the rain. But something else filled the silence. Whispering. Faint. Incoherent. Like a radio turned just below audible range. He sat up. The room was pitch black, though he could see faint light leaking from under the door. A creak from the hallway. Then another. He held his breath. The whispering grew louder, now right outside his door. Then it stopped. After a minute of dead silence, Elliot finally stood and opened the door. The hallway was empty. The next morning, the town was alive. Shops were open. People were walking. Kids were even playing in the park, but something was off. No one made eye contact. No one spoke above a whisper. And they all had the same strange mark, a pale, circular scar behind their right ear, like a burn or brand. Elliot asked a woman at the bakery about it. She blinked. "We don't talk about that." And she walked away. He spent the day looking for a mechanic or a bus route, anything to get out. But no one offered help. In fact, most people pretended not to hear him at all. Every road he tried to follow out of town led right back into town, literally. He walked for 30 minutes eastward, only to find himself back at the same corner shop he'd passed earlier, its door still swinging open in the wind. By sundown, he was back at Mrs. Hargrove's, sweating and pale. "I can't get out," he said. She nodded slowly. "No one does." That night, he didn't sleep. He listened. And recorded. He placed his phone by the door and let it run. The next morning, he played it back. Most of the audio was quiet. But at 3:16 a.m., something whispered directly into the mic. "We see you now." He explored more the next day. found the town church boarded up, the library filled with books that had no titles, and a street where every mailbox was empty except for his name. And then there was the clock tower. It was broken, stuck at 11:59, its bell rusted, its gears torn, but at night he could hear it ticking, even though it didn't move. On the fourth day, he found the basement under Mrs. Hargrove's house. It wasn't locked. Inside were stacks of old radios, boxes of blank VHS tapes, and a map etched into the stone floor. A map of the town, with tiny metal pins placed in certain buildings. Each pin was labeled with a date and a name. He found his name next to tonight's date, and under it the word transmission. He ran outside. The streets were empty. No lights. No voices. The whole town switched off again. He ran to the only place that still had power, the church. Inside there was no altar, no pews, just a single television screen, old boxy, flickering with static. He stepped closer. His face appeared on the screen, but behind him a figure. Then everything went dark. And the last thing he heard was his own voice whispering, "We're ready to begin." Part 2 continued in next video.